Red Sox fans have long to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. This is going to get to a point. The Cubs. Stays. Makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have fallen for it all. 8-7-10.
Welcome to the best sports podcast on the planet. This is Triple Shot Sports. I am your host, Brandon Combs, joined as always by Soup Boss Chad Launders. Soup Boss, how's it going?
Not bad, man. I'm having issues. I'm trying to find a box big enough for this green broom that I'm trying to ship it to my buddy out in Philadelphia, just because the Celtics swept them, baby.
Hey, it might be a good day for you. You know, the Celtics sweep. Bruins look like they can advance tonight.
And the Red Sox only lost by 1 run, so it was kind of like they tried.
You know, meanwhile, the guy that they traded away is lighting the world on fire.
Yep.
But we're gonna get to that here in a little bit. Got a great show lined up for you. We got some NBA, some NHL, some MLB talk. We're even gonna talk UFC after that great fight night that they had last night on ESPN. So we got a really good show for you, but we're going to kick it off here with some NBA talk. And before I get there, I do want to wish a very happy birthday in heaven to Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe, hey, man, you were an inspiration. We miss you. We miss Gigi. Wish you guys were back here, man, because we would love to see what she was going to become and what you were going to become as a coach. So, and I saw the post that his wife did about his birthday today, and it just gave me chills just reading it. So I just wanted to get that out there as well. So first thing that we're going to talk about, man, we're going to get into that Lakers-Portland series here. And
you want to talk about the fact that Luka just set the world on fire?
Yeah, we're gonna get to
we'll get into it. This is just live, so I'm still like amped. Like I was like, yeah, Celtics sweep, and I was like, well, maybe something exciting will happen in this game, and I was like,
yeah, Luka at the buzzer was phenomenal, and we're gonna get to that series for sure here. But no, I mean, look, Lakers and Portland are putting on a show. The Portland Trailblazers are giving the Lakers all that they can handle right now. It's 2-1 right now. Lakers are up. But Portland's hanging in there. Portland looks like they could probably sneak another game, maybe even 2, and make this a 7-game series and make this really exciting. I would love to see that. I go out all the time, and I tell you guys I don't watch a whole lot of basketball, but I do watch playoff basketball. I've been getting into it this playoff series. And
he didn't want his co-host to give him any more crap about not watching basketball. I've been getting into it again with the playoffs and with everything, and also with this show too, because I want to be able to bring you guys the best content that we have, and I want to be able to know what I'm talking about. They almost lost me as a viewer again last night, but we'll get back to that. But no, look, the Lakers and Portland are really looking good. LeBron looks good. Anthony Davis looks phenomenal right now. That's it right there.
And yeah, oh man, him last night, he's the reason why they won. I mean, if it wasn't for Anthony Davis right now, Portland's up 2-1 in that series, don't you think?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, yes, but you expect that. He's a player on the team. But I bring in, when we've talked about whether or not they can sweep, I mean, not sweep, if they can pull the upset, the Trailblazers, and I've shared, I'd love to see it because Dame's my favorite player. I'd love to see the world set on fire because LeBron loses after he goes on the West Coast, all these things. But I've said it over and over, is that AD was the closer and the leader for the Pelicans. Even though they weren't a great team, he was dragging them to the playoffs. He was the one that could take over, and he hasn't had to do that a lot with LeBron being re-energized this season. But I knew that once he needed to, he would be. We've seen it in a couple games. And what's crazy is that he did that yesterday, but it wasn't because LeBron James needed him. LeBron James was also on fire. And to me, that's enough to spell the demise of the Trailblazers. Like you said, in Way or No Way, our last episode, they definitely have a chance to still upset them. I still say no way. I think, could Portland sneak another game? Sure. Why not? Of course, especially with how talented Damian Lillard and the rest of that team is. But when you see what we saw in Game 3 with LeBron and AD playing at peak performance,
Yeah.
To me, that's unstoppable. It's unstoppable. I mean, the other role players have to do what they need to do, but they're more relaxed when both of those two are just on top of their game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you got Milwaukee looking like they're back to form against Orlando. Like it looks like Orlando's game one upset. It might be the only game that they take of that series because they just look completely mismatched like they should. And Milwaukee is the best team in the Eastern Conference, I believe. I know you might have an issue with that being a Celtics guy, but I just think Milwaukee's the team to beat. And as good as the Celtics look, as good as Toronto looks right now, and that's just how high I hold Milwaukee and Antetokounmpo. That team's going to be tough to beat, and they're really showing Orlando why they are that.
Well, they should be, right? Like, let's talk about the fact that everyone was shocked with that upset. I would like an investigation to see if we had a shoeless Joe Jackson situation here, and the Bucks and the Magic got together with the Magic being a plus 1,500, and they were like, "Listen, we could all add a little bit of money in our paychecks." No, I'm just kidding, obviously, in that aspect. No, I mean, do I agree with you? No, I don't agree that they're the team to beat. And it comes down to not with their skill set or not with the MVP player in Giannis or anything like that, but it's the Lamar Jackson situation in the NFL. When you can get through the playoffs and prove that you can do it, I'll have more confidence in you. And the Bucks have shown that they've had challenge doing that year in and year out here recently. And even though, sure, they've taken the reins on the Magic, they should have taken the reins. They shouldn't have been so caught off guard in game one. It wasn't even a close game if you watched it. They were manhandled by Orlando. That's enough for me to say that there's still question marks in that aspect. These other teams that are better seeds that are losing a game, it's either close or they're closer in seed. That was just a straight up upset, top to bottom. There's no way around it. And that's enough to let me say, hey, Toronto and Boston right now they're playing full chemistry basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, when Gordon Hayward went down, there was worry about it. And I'm sitting here now like watching Jaylen Brown on the Celtics sitting off to the side with his arm in the air. And Kemba and Jason Tatum are doing their thing. And he's just like, I know right now I don't need the ball, but if you guys want, like, he's like, I'm right here when you need me. Like, they're showing depth and layer.
I said it that night when we talked about Hayward going down that this Celtics team still looks like even without Hayward, they're poised to make a deep run. And right now it looks like they're on a collision course with Toronto, and that is going to be one hell of a series, man. That is going to be one
series of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I talk about it all the time because it's the last time that I was really, really this deep into basketball was when the Bulls and the Celtics went at it in that epic 7-game series that they had where like 5 of them went to overtime. 3 of those were double overtime. But no, I really think that that's what the Celtics and Toronto are going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of overtimes. I think it's going to be a highly contested series. And I think that one would definitely be on course for 7 games unless something absolutely insane happens and somebody wins that in 5 or 6. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, I would see it going 7 games. Celtics did have a 3-1 advantage over them in the regular season, including a dominating game here in the bubble when they were still kind of fighting for seeding, which shows their strength. But those were games that Gordon Hayward was actually on top of his game. He was a big part of that, so that's going to challenge us. So, I see it going 7. I would call it the game of the playoffs potentially based on seedings and setups, but we may be seeing the series of the postseason already between the Clippers and the Mavericks. What a friggin' series now locked up at 2.
And Doncic hitting that buzzer beater after everything that's gone on over the last 2 days. Today, to me, was look, man, I loved every second of it. Every second of it. And you can even see some of his teammates afterwards looking over at the Clippers bench, how you like him now, saying stuff like that too. And look, that team, that Dallas Mavericks team, I mean, maybe Montrezl Harris, who we're going to talk about him here in a minute, but maybe he sparked a fire and woke up a sleeping giant that he didn't want to wake up in this series. And maybe Dallas is going to come out there and upset the Clippers there.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say that it wouldn't be like that huge of an upset, except for the fact you look today, Porzingis wasn't even playing. So, so it would be. I mean, Paul George has playoff issues. But they have
Right.
Kawhi Leonard, who's arguably one of, if not the best player in the game today. Even today, he was ice cold. He was keeping the Clippers back in it. He drove them back into it when they got down by 9. Beginning of overtime, he was well more on top of it. So, if Dallas beats them, would it be an upset? Sure. But part of me doesn't think it'd be that huge because you're seeing a Dallas Mavericks team that's continued to grow and wrap itself around Luka.
The Clippers were seen by a lot of people. The Clippers were seen by a lot of people before the playoffs started as maybe one of the teams that could actually go in and unseat the Lakers in the West. So
a lot of people said that before the season though started too, and it just wasn't the case. The Clippers have done nothing all season to prove the high end expectation. They've been a good team, no doubt. But everyone's like, they're going to be the better LA team. They're going to be the higher seed in LA. They're going to be the ones that show their dominance and everything. And they have not. Everyone put their expectations here, and they've come about here. Dallas's expectations were about here. They got Porzingis, and they've come to here. So that's what I'm saying is that I think that if you listen to the hype, this is a huge matchup that could be a huge upset, but I don't think so. I think you've got two more closely placed teams and the way they're set up, the way they're coached. That's another thing. Two amazing coaches on both of these teams, Rivers and Carlisle. I mean, they were right before that Luka shot. They got the ball in with 9 seconds, and you could tell Rivers was going to foul him because they had one to give, and he wanted as much time off. And he got it to where I think there was 4.7 seconds, and Luka turned around and he's talking to Carlisle, and you saw Rivers coming over, listening what they're saying, and then going over and talking to his defense about a switch he wanted them to pull. Like two great coaches as well that I think are very close. Carlisle maybe just a little bit better, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think this is so separated. I think you've got two good teams, and we're seeing it. It's 2-2 right now with an amazing game that just ended.
Look, we're going to get into this now because it's something that I've been itching to talk about since last night. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't talk about it last night. I'm glad that the show was tonight instead of last night. So I've had some time to think about this. And what Montrezl Harrell did yesterday in the game, you can see his mouth go, and he calls Luka Doncic a bitch-ass white boy. And look, I have an extreme issue with how the NBA has not handled this. I have an extreme issue with. I get that there's trash talk all the time. There's they go back and forth. You'll say things about each other's mothers. You'll say things about each other, and you might even say things. But in this point, in this time in the NBA, where you've got guys wearing equality on the back of their jerseys. You're fighting for racial injustice. You're fighting for racial equality. And you come out with that spew out of your mouth. If this was the other way around, man, and we talked about this before the show, if this was the other way around, this would have led CNN. This would have led Fox News. This would have led SportsCenter. We'd be listening to it on First Take for the next 2 months about whether or not Luka Doncic should be kicked out of the bubble. Should Luka Doncic ever be allowed to play in the NBA again? But because it was Montrezl Harrell and Jason Williams, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, go look up Jason Williams' tweet in the video that he posted going at Montrezl Harrell and criticizing him for this, because I think it was beautifully put. And a lot of this stuff gets taken, in one ear and out the other. It gets taken as this is just me complaining about Black Lives Matter and blah, 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 because I'm a white person saying this. But that's not what this is. Look, I don't mind all of the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't mind the protests. I don't mind all the peaceful stuff. I don't mind that you're trying to change something that needs to be changed. I'm all for that stuff. I'm all for the different messages on the back of the jerseys and anything else you want to do. That's fine with me. But you can't sit there and say, yes, we want racial equality, and then watch because it's Montrezl Harrell who's a black man saying it to a white man. Because I'm telling you right now, if Luka Doncic had uttered the words "bitch ass black boy," I'm telling you that he would be gone. He wouldn't have played today. He wouldn't have hit that buzzer beater. He would have been suspended already by the NBA, and there would have been action taken. And the fact that they haven't done anything yet to Montrezl Harrell, it's laughable to me, and it's a joke. And at that point, to me, and I told you this before the show, Montrezl Harris, at that point, everybody else is the peaceful protesters. Montrezl Harris is the one that gets out of line and starts the looting, because he just doesn't care about the message at that point. He's not about the equality. He's about saying whatever the hell comes to mind and going at him, because if that shoe was on the other foot, it would have been a completely different story, and there's no place for that in the NBA. There's no place for that in society. It shouldn't be, me coming at it. Should be, we should all fucking get together. We should all go together. We should all say racial, verbiage should not come from any of us. It doesn't matter what color our skin is. That just shouldn't be a thing. And the fact that it's in your vocabulary, and we talked about this with Tom Brenneman, the fact that it's in your vocabulary and the fact that you use that verbiage so easily shows who you are. That's who you are, because it's in your vocabulary. So the NBA needs to step in and absolutely do something here. Okay.
And so, as we said before the show, it's not that I don't agree with you in the aspect that this was wrong for him to say, right? I completely agree. We talked about Brennan. There's other things that we've seen here. We've got an announcer in the NHL with a challenging aspect as well. Do I think if it was flipped the other way around, would it be a worse situation? Of course, with the reflection of the current standards, right? But here's my only challenge to it, and it's not a problem. It's just a challenge, and this is why today I just feel exhausted, because I continue to I'm so tired of election years. I'm so tired of the amount it rips us apart as a nation, absolutely. And how much everyone gets justified in their anger and their hatred. But what we do is we get mad and then we say things like that. If it was on the other foot, we would probably get upset that there was a full-scale attack. Like, let's just put it. If it was on the other foot, it was on Luka, everything you said, you didn't make those examples because you were for them. You made those examples saying everything on first take and suspension, or you wouldn't have hit that shot, probably out of an aspect of frustration. A lot of people don't come back and go, man, I really don't like the fact he said it, but if the shoe's on the other foot, I wouldn't want it to be as big of a deal either, because I think they're trash talking or something, so I'm going to let them handle it. We don't want to do that. We want to be justified in our anger, and we want to say who can be more mad about a situation. And here's where everything in all of this I feel has gotten lost. He came out today with all the stuff that's been going on, and instead of making excuses, going to the podium and saying, well, I don't know what was fully said, or here's the other thing in today's world. I get so tired of this. Well, I text him and I haven't heard back from him or her in that aspect, because texting is the way that the world does things. And I'm guilty of that when it comes to apologies and stuff like that. He met him on court and he went to him and he apologized. Luka accepted the apology. They embraced, and they said, no sweat, and they went their separate ways. Here's my only issue in the world today as we leak in the outside world into the sports world and all across the board. At some point, we have to realize we are all human beings. We all make mistakes. We talked about it with Tom, and I said he should have something put against him, because that was a straight derogatory term for a whole city and every aspect like that, but I didn't say that he should lose his whole career or anything over it. He talked about a whole city. It wasn't one person. He talked about Luka. Luka accepted the apology. At what point do we as grown adults start seeing those standards and using those as an example? Instead of being mad that something's not being put on him, why aren't we mad that the story about the apology and the acceptance of the apology and the embrace is not bigger than the aspect of what he said? Because it's still being posted, and people are now
Luka Doncic had the chance to meet him at half court.
So your defense is if. That's all we care about is the if. We want to be justified in an opposing angry manner.
What are they fighting for?
But everyone wants to be mad, right? They want to be fight for. But who was the transgression against? Was it against you as a white man, or was it against Luka?
Okay, but so that goes with everything then. So if you're saying that, so all right. So when it's on the other foot, okay, you can't say, oh, was it against you or was it against you? Because if that's the case, then we can't have protests for George Floyd, because it wasn't against you. It wasn't against one. It was against George Floyd. That cop, that ignorant cop, who did not perform, it did not render attention, did not do his job, should have absolutely been put in jail.
So that's what you want. You want protests. You want protests
no.
Did that cop come out and say to George Floyd, did he walk up to George Floyd's family and straight out apologize in any way, shape, or form? No, since then he's been released. We have videotape of him being in grocery stores and stuff and telling people just get out of his face. He doesn't want to talk to anyone. Like, that's the thing. I gave you an example of an apology, which I teach my own kids. You do something wrong, apologize, and hopefully that person will respond. No one wants to talk about it. We just want to say in response that now call him a bitch-ass white boy. Who's the bitch-ass white boy? We want to be justified in anger.
It's the double standard. It's not about justification. It's about the double standard.
That's exactly what it is.
It's about the double standard. It's about if one person does it, we look at it differently than when another person does it. Because I'm telling you right now,
but two wrongs make a right. I feel like I'm a dad right here.
If this was the other way around, and it was like I said, if Luka Doncic had said it to him, we would be having a totally different conversation right now, right?
Right. If you want to say this is what drives me nuts. People want to go, well, if it's on the other shoe, therefore it should be this way. It's a justification of a penalization that you want brought down because it's still hanging up on the if, which is not actually happened, but on the if on another foot, and we still are ignoring the apology. Why is no one talking about the apology?
So let's talk about what did happen. Okay, yes, he apologized, but what did happen? What did Montrezl Harrell say? Was it a racially charged verbiage?
Yeah, it was. Okay. And he went to Luka and he apologized about it. I'm not saying that there still needs to be some type of action, but right now what I'm talking about is what you're bringing up for Verbius is a justification to continue to be mad and demand justice out of that aspect.
I'm not mad at all. Look, the NBA is going to do what the NBA is going to do or not do. Okay, and the way it's covered is going to happen whether I'm mad. So I'm not mad at all. What I'm saying is that you can't. Just because it's one person saying it doesn't make it okay for another person to do it. And it doesn't make it okay for another. So by doing nothing to Montrezl Harrell, you're telling me that you're not about equality because that's what equality means. Equality means equal.
Yeah, equality means equality means people of two different races coming together and embracing each other and one heartfelt saying an apology and another person accepting it. At some point, again, we're looking at the what if it was because we bring it on a larger global scale. But again, I don't know. I just sometimes wish we could in every aspect, even with the George Floyd, even with all other aspects. I wish we could be adults. I mean, let's look at the aspect if we want to bring this up and we're going on more of a social standard. George Floyd's family themselves went out and said the heavy amount of looting and stuff. We don't want this. This is not what they want. Right. They were the ones saying it. So if Luka comes out tomorrow and says, listen, I'm fine with him. I'm okay with it. We embraced and apologized. I'd rather nothing happen to him. Are you then saying that if the NBA heard Luka and said, okay, we hear that, you'd be upset because he wouldn't be held to a standard where he should be penalized? Because if the shoe was on the other foot, we're going to assume then there would be a penalization on the other end. That's what people on social media is doing. Wrong, because
that's not an assumption. If the shoe was on the other foot, we absolutely would have a completely different narrative. Absolutely.
You know for a fact Luka Doncic would be suspended.
Come on, man. You say let's use our common sense and let's use our eye test. So use your common sense and use your eye test on this one.
Well, I'm just saying the hatred I see on social media with demands of, and I'm not saying you, it's just at some point, when do we stop becoming so goddamn bloodthirsty and learn to be adults across the board in all areas? That's what I'm saying with
Jay Williams is a black man who said that there needs to be action against Montrez. He said the same thing.
Yeah. But again, what is the weight of the value? Why aren't we waiting to hear what Luka has to say? What's the weight of the value? Just like we should have been listening to George Floyd's family. What's Luka supposed to say? Are you serious, man?
What's he going to say?
He's going to say what it meant to him to be apologized.
You think he's going to come out and even if he didn't get an apology, he's going to come out and say, yeah, he should be suspended? No. That's not what they do.
Oh, yeah. Players never say when they're frustrated when another player does something that pisses them off. They never say things like that.
All right. We're going to go ahead and move on because we're going to have to agree to disagree on this subject for sure. So let's get into some of our comments. Wayne came in with Mamba Forever. Absolutely. Happy birthday again to Mamba. Michael Paris is watching. What's going on, Michael?
What's up,
This
Mike?
guy is and you're going to hate this. This guy is a massive Canadians fan.
That's okay. They're not playing anymore. So one of my closest friends is a Canadians fan.
They're not playing anymore. I like it. Celtics number 1 in the power rankings. Called it a week ago. Hey, I don't know about number 1 in the power rankings because you still have the Lakers. I still think Toronto might be able to dispatch them. I still think that I still think Milwaukee's number 2.
We'll have to see what Wayne thinks of your power rankings in the MLB later on.
Yeah, he's already seen them. Jared Parrott, let's get bombed. Jared's always about that drink. I won't see the Timberwolves in the NBA playoffs in my life. Hey, they got the number 1 pick. They'll probably botch it, but they got the number 1 pick.
They did get it, which speaking of which, you think it's bad for you, CV. At least you're not a Knicks fan, which I swear is even worse. Even with their
who's the consensus number 1 this year?
Guys, that's the thing. This draft sucks. Like, if there was a year that you should be excited that you got the number 1 pick, this is not the year for it. This draft year sucks. Okay. It does.
That goes to show why I haven't heard of who the
there you go.
Stevens is the best coach in the playoffs. That might be true.
Yeah,
I might go in that way. Stevens is a really good coach.
There's some really good coaches this year in these playoffs.
What about J.R. Smith beating that white boy's ass, but puts right before it says, I'm not being racist or anything? I don't know. We're not going to keep getting into that. It's just that's opening a whole can of worms. Apologies, a few good, but we'll see a positive impact come from this because if not, the apology means nothing. I mean, look, we talked about it the other day.
Yeah, we got to see.
Tom Brenneman apologized, and, I mean, he still got suspended. And, I mean, granted, he insulted a whole city and not just one person, but, I mean, he still apologized. So if an apology is, supposed to mean something and we're supposed to take it, then, I don't know.
All I'm saying is no one's talking about it. That's all. I've seen no one talk about that aspect.
Kid from Georgia. Yeah, well, that helps, Wayne.
Wayne's the experienced NBA guy.
Yeah, you're the resident NBA guy. You don't even know the kid's name. So I don't feel so bad now that we don't know who the
one of the ball kids is in the draft this year.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
He is. I think he's projected around 5th pick, 4th pick. Like that's how bad it is.
Is Lamar still out there trying to have more babies so he can, add to the big baller brand or what's going on?
They've cut him off. Someone caught one of his family members literally on the street selling a bunch of the stuff for like $5 a pop, like shirts, hats, and like the shoes for like $20. Like it's insane. Like that's finally a couple kids that loved and trusted their dad, but finally realized it was hurting them more and just were like, yeah, we're done. That's good for them. That's why I kind of in the back of my head root for them just a little bit because I want to see them do it on their own now, not with their dad doing it.
Maddie Orlando. What's going on, Maddie? What do you think Coach Brown said to the players in the last timeout? And what would you say knowing you're on your way out?
Yeah, that last minute of that Celtics 76ers game was grueling. One of the commentators made a statement about it. It was like a terrible first date or something. Like it was 20 minutes long, but 60 seconds on the clock. It was bad. And they called a timeout with like 6 seconds to go. And what was crazy is they passed it in and Embiid just kind of turned around and just threw up a 3-pointer and drilled it in like as time expired. I mean, I think Coach Brown, there's another aspect, Matteo. I think Coach Brown knows he's on his way out. Like he's done a great job, but every year the efficiency with Embiid and Simmons together has dropped. There's obviously the aspect of energy and just excitement in their shoulders. You see it's gone away year after year. The players have lost the faith that they can get this done. And I think for Brown, who's done a great job, Philly, I think people forget, was just a garbage team. Just 5-7 years ago, they were horrible. He's made them relevant. And I think he probably he drew up a play and he said, let's go out and do just one more, guys. Let's do something. I'm proud of you. let's at least go out there and put our best foot forward for one last play. I think that's the best you can say in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, knowing you're on your way out, and look, when you're on a team, you're a family. I mean, you just are,
exactly.
and the coach is the dad of the family, and so regardless, I mean, there might have been some players in that locker room who didn't agree with his style or didn't like the way he coached, and maybe they're happy he's leaving, but for the most part, I'm sure it was something heartfelt, and I'm sure in the locker room, you know, the guys were all, you know, saying their goodbyes and doing what they had to do to, you know, for Coach Brown and letting them know, you know, how much they care for him or respect him. So I'm sure it wasn't anything crazy, but I'm sure it was heartfelt for sure. All right, so let's get into the NHL playoffs here, because I know that you know, first round ended, second round's beginning. We didn't have any Game 7s in the first round.
None, not a single one. We got close, and then Dallas shocked me.
Yeah, Dallas. Look, Dallas coming out and taking a 1-0 game on the Colorado Avalanche there. I think the Avalanche are a team to beat in the West. They're absolutely, you know, one of the best teams out there in the West, and I think they're the best remaining team in the West. Vegas is pretty good, but I still think Colorado is more skilled than them. So I didn't expect Colorado to lose game one. I know they did lose their goalie there.
That was a big part.
And this goes to show how bad you know, or how tough hockey players are, because he couldn't even walk off the ice. He was being carried off the ice, and they say, well, he's out for game 2.
Yeah.
How has he not been ruled out for the series yet is beyond me, because he is yeah. I don't see any way. The way that he left the ice, I just don't see him playing again. And so that's going to be tough for Colorado to come back from. You know, but again, your backup comes in and he plays out of his mind, and you're still a very talented team. They're absolutely not out of it yet, but Dallas definitely surprised me there.
Getting hot at the right time. And
then the Capitals get eliminated, and then they go and fire their head coach today. Reardon is gone, and I just realized he's the 6th coach in Washington since Ovechkin came into the league.
Yep, six coach, and he's there, and he was there for 2 years. He had over a 630 win percentage, Stanley Cup, top 3 seed each year, and hockey's just a different beast.
The Islanders, they're not a powerhouse in the East, but they're not a scrub. I mean, I don't think there's any scrub teams in hockey. Period.
They're playing team hockey.
Yeah, I mean when you go, we've said it before. Hockey's probably got the most parity out of all the major sports.
Yep, 100%.
I think every year you go in and there's 8 seeds, but even the if you put all 16 seeds in there, you would never be surprised when a 16 seed beats a 1 seed. This is there's just so much parity, and all you need is a goalie to get hot and to play well in front of them, and you've got a shot.
Well, we look at the round robin, which was technically not the playoffs, but really it was. It was, the top 4 seeds kind of got to play each other to see where their new seedings would be, and then we watched 2 12s beat 5s. Like that's a huge upset. That's just as much as an 8 beating a 1 aspect in that way. So the Golden Knights, I would have told you I thought was a better team than the Avalanche just a little bit. The Avalanche definitely have a very solid team, but they've also been known to let go of some close games, whereas the Knights are known to win those close games. But I can't remember who it is, but one of their players, was it yesterday or this morning, ripped the head coach in an interview, just completely ripped him. And I was like, hold on. This was a brand new team. They go to the Stanley Cups. They're now considered one of the best teams in the West.
Now he's not the starting goalie. He's not the starting goalie anymore. I mean, that's just how it goes. Look, we're down to the Final 4 in each conference, and for me, the winner of the Bruins and Tampa Bay are probably going to represent the East in the Stanley Cup, because I think that these are the 2 best teams in the conference for sure.
Yeah,
especially with Washington being gone. I mean, Philly dominated. I mean, they absolutely dominated the round robin, and then I mean they did come out and drop 2 games to Montreal. Montreal. But look, again, the NHL, man, dropping 2 games to Montreal, that's not a big deal to me. That doesn't say
Right.
you're all of a sudden falling off the face of the earth. But I just, the way Boston's turned it on since the round robin, because they looked awful in the round robin.
Well,
But
Dallas was. I mean, the only team worse than Boston in the round robin was Dallas, and like you just said, they just 5-3 beat the Avalanche, and they're all of a sudden playing like they're unstoppable. Like,
right.
I love this game.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And then I think the Golden Knights in Colorado are going to be in the Western Conference Finals, and man,
that's going to be a series.
Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see that with a healthy Colorado goalie. I'm not sure we're going to see that, but I think the Golden Knights will probably prevail in that series. I really think Colorado's very good, but without their starting goalie, I just can't see them beating a team like Vegas. Can you?
Well, can they beat Dallas? I mean, you put them in the next round, but we just said it. Like, their goalie's out now. Their goalie's out game 2. What if they go down in a 2-0 hole? Again, unlike other sports, a 2-0 hole isn't horrible in hockey, but Dallas is playing lights out hockey right now. Their last 3 games, they've been on a scoring frenzy. And though they're still giving up 2 to 3 goals per game, it's okay to give up 2 to 3 goals when you're scoring 4 to 6 goals. Like, I mean,
and there's no home ice advantage, so it's not like you get to go home for the next 3. You get,
but they pipe in the whole crowd sound when they're on home ice. What are you talking about? Man, you can tell. Speaking of that, man, watching the Thunder Rockets game, by the way, and then watching, I think it was the Philly game, Philly Flyers and Montreal. Man, when you watch these players, you can just tell that when fans get back, it's going to be so much better because a couple of them still players. Like there was a Phillies player that got a goal, and then I think it was Schroeder, the Thunder, and they hit these buckets and hit a goal, and they both turned around and they were like, "Wow!" Like right towards the fans, not their teammates, and it was like. There's no fans there. Like they had the virtual ones in the NBA, but it wasn't even pointed at them. It was towards the broadcasting crew. Like you can just tell it's built in these professional athletes and how much better. And God, I just want fans to get back.
I still don't know how good these guys are doing their virtual high fives because I still can't get the damn thing right. I'm still like, you gotta be like, I'm like, no, wait, no. Oh, geez.
Oh look! Oh no! You had it! No, ready? No.
There we go. Yeah, those virtual high five. But yeah, you watch these guys in the virtual stand. The NBA has done a great job with virtual fans. I'd like to see the MLB actually implement that too, because I watching games, and I know the NHL plays in a large rink. It'd be very hard for them to do the same thing, but you could do it in a smaller capacity, I would think.
At least with the nets behind home plate.
Absolutely. And same thing with NHL, behind the nets or something, but
the NFL's
behind the benches.
The NFL is looking at it as a possibility for the teams that are declaring they won't have fans to start. And guys like Jerry Jones, they want to be right on top of that. I wouldn't be shocked that they try some of that. And that's a much further away aspect. They're not right on top of the field.
Jerry Jones will have holograms in each seat.
Yeah, yes, he will.
Jerry Jones is a maniac. He will.
We're going 9-7 this year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a quick break here, and then when we come back, we will be talking some MLB. So stay right with us. We will be back shortly.
Do you see me? Can you hear me? I'm still in your dreams and I'm struggling. Do you see me? Can you hear me? I'm still in your dreams and I'm struggling. Do you see me? Can you hear me? I'm still in your dreams and I'm struggling. Do you see me? Can you hear me? I'm still in your dreams and I'm struggling. Do you see me? How can I not? All up in my face every time that I talk, every time that I stop. Take a breath for a second, feel you stepping on my chest, take a shot. Take it while it's down. But you never keep him down. I'm a king with my crown and a king with a king of me. Won the victory when he rose from the ground. Jesus, yes, I was that proud. Care about the increase. crowd. Care about truth. That's something you don't know about. Life trying to make change. Which trolls gonna change me back to the old me? This in high school, you don't know me. No, all you just troll me. Got so.
All right, so we are back, and it is time to talk a little bit of baseball here. Probably a little bit more than a little bit, because when we start going on baseball, I get all sorts of.
I was going to say, with you getting a little crazy with baseball coming up, do you want to just real quick go over the Twitter polls because we put those up?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the Twitter polls for sure.
And remember, guys, at 3 Shot Sports, the number 3 Shot Sports on Twitter and also on Instagram. Follow us there. We'll have countdowns. I'm going to start doing more video live streams and stuff with some updates and some things going on. And we got our YouTube challenge. We want to get to 100 subscribers. Once we get to 100, we're going to be doing a big merchandise giveaway. So on YouTube, it's Triple Shot Sports Podcast. Find us there, subscribe. We hit 100. We're going to be doing a big giveaway. Mr. Combs is going above and beyond in an amazing way. But real quick, we had the 3 polls up on Twitter. Do the Blazers upset Lakers in round 1 of the NBA? We just talked about this a little bit, bringing in the NBA. 80% to 20%. No, LeBron is king. They think that the Lakers pull it out. Dame Nation only getting 20%. So, I mean, if you kind of look at what the expectance of the series is, I don't think that's too bad. Between the Bucks and Chiefs, who has a better shot at winning the Super Bowl this year? Me, Mr. Combs. I picked the Chiefs. He picked the Bucks. 100%. Sorry, Mr. Combs. Mahomes is God. Go Chiefs. They got it. Though, trust me, I'm not gonna. I will not be upset if you are right and the Bucks and TB12 win that out. And then the last one, whose pick for the NFL MVP was better? Soup Boss. I picked Russell Wilson and got him on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And you, Mr. Combs, you picked the GOAT, Tom Brady. We had 186-year-old TB12 getting 25% of the votes. Wilson Sierra, easy, got 50% of the votes, so I get the win. But I threw a third one in there. You're both insane. 25% of our fans thinking you and I are both insane. Neither one of them will win MVP. So good job, guys. We'll throw up some more. Get those votes in. I love it.
Those people disagreeing with the Buccaneers having a shot to win the Super Bowl, or when you throw them up against the Chiefs, everybody thinks the Chiefs are world beaters, but I just can't bet against. I wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs beat them. I just can't bet against Tom Brady in a big game unless you're facing Eli Manning. I just can't. I can't bet against him in a big game. Anyway, we got some comments here. Matteo is on again. I was watching LA Portland series last night. Do you guys think this will and always will be LeBron's league until he retires? Yeah, absolutely. It's always going to be his league.
I think so in some way, but there's
it's like a Jordan's NBA. Even when he was the Wizards, it was Jordan's NBA.
Yeah, there is an aspect though that a lot of people are believing he's trying to hold out in order to play with Bronny, his kid. Yeah. I don't know if that will be the case, but if that does happen, he finds a way to play with his son, that will be enough of a story that he doesn't even need the lead in points, and he'd still be, the head of the NBA. So
I can't watch games versus LeBron anymore, and it's really unfortunate because you want to see greatness, but the calls are always in his favor, which I feel look. Well, I've said it before. The NBA is the one league where if they want you to win, they're going to do everything. You might still lose. The other team might overcome the calls. But if they want you to win, you're going to get stuff going your way. And the Lakers are definitely a team that the NBA wants to have win. So
I gotta say what's amazing is that we look at LeBron and what Matteo is saying. We've talked about it a lot in Sports Soup, and Matteo and I are friends from up in New England. We've shared about that when he was younger, and it was the first time I really saw in the league, like, people called for it. Like, people that think that MJ didn't ask for calls are fooling themselves. But it wasn't this like whining, put both my arms out. What the heck are you doing? Like walking up to the ref and throwing a fit, even when the ball is still going to the other team. Like it's more important to them to throw a fit about it. And I tell you, everyone's excited about him today. But I've been watching this series with the Clippers and the Mavericks. I've watched Luka do it like 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing because he's grown up watching LeBron James, and I'm worried that is going to just be the aspect of the NBA. If you are considered a superstar and the weight is on your shoulders to score, and you go to the basket and you feel anyone bump you, and you'll get a call, you're just going to go up and whine.
You know how people go do the Kobe thing, and they go Kobe, and they shoot a basket into the paper into the. You think if they go LeBron and they just fall on the ground. Josh CV chimes in. Royals got clapped by the Twins. Yes, they did, as they should. The Twins are one of the best teams in the American League. I think that they are still the second best team in their division, and I think one team came out and they clapped my Cubs all weekend long, and that is the Chicago White Sox. Even though they're not in the lead in the division right now, that team, man, dude, they came out this weekend. And
you think that team is better than the Twins?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're on a hot streak right now?
Dude, not only
would you think when they were not on a hot streak?
But I'm talking. I picked them to win the division.
Yeah, but did you think that they were the best team when they were 3-7 in their last 10 versus 7-3 like they are right now?
Yeah, I think that the White Sox are the best team in that division. I think that they're young. I think they're talented. I think they're poised to make a run. And coming out this weekend against the Cubs, and granted they got at Lester, which a lot of teams have been getting at Lester over the last 2 years, but then they went and they did the same thing to Kyle Hendricks. And then I thought it was going to happen all over again because Abreu in the first inning on his first pitch that he sees from Darvish, he goes yard 2. They hit 12 home runs in a 3-game series.
Yeah.
12 home runs in a 3-game. This team is unreal. That the heart of that White Sox lineup is so good. So good, man. When you have Abreu, you have Moncada, you have the guy the Cubs fucking traded him, and he's been killing them ever since there. But yeah, no, that team is very good. And Eloy Jimenez, there it is, Eloy Jimenez. But
it just goes to my point about the Twins before. They're that silent actual team. They're an actual gelled team, and they've been building on this for about 2 years now. So that's fine. They don't need superstar names. They're dominating.
Twins are very good. If anything, the Sox are the 1A in that division for sure. And then you got the Cleveland Indians, who are probably the third best team in that division, behind the Twins and the White Sox. Jared says, take a lap. White Sox are up and coming, but not the best. They're third best. No, the White Sox are better than the Indians. They have a better pitching staff. They have a much better lineup all the way around 1 through 9. And the White Sox are a better team than the Indians right now.
A White Sox-Indian series to me would because the Indians also have some great young talent, and they showed it with one of their pitchers the other night. I think the Indians are going to win that series still. I think they win it 6 or 7 games.
I think the White Sox pitching staff is much better, especially in the playoffs. That's what wins is pitching. I think the White Sox pitching staff is better than the Indians, and I think it's right there with the Twins, if not better than the Twins.
You know, it's a really bad relief pitching group, the Philadelphia Phillies, who have historically one of the worst relief ERA groups of all time. And then what did they do? They went and got 2 Red Sox pitchers.
Yeah.
Look, what were you thinking, Phillies?
The Cubs completely disappointed me this weekend. I thought they'd put up a better fight against the White Sox. The White Sox just went out and just absolutely destroyed them. They did put up a fight last night, even though they ended up losing by 3. And then, they won. They salvaged the 3rd game of the series. But they just showed that maybe they're still the 2018 and 2019 Cubs, where they're good, but they're going to go through these slumps. They're not going. They're not going to, be able to sustain, a 40-game stretch of greatness. They're going to be good for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then they're going to be bad for about 2 weeks, and then they're going to be good for another 2 or 3 weeks, and that's why I wasn't super high to win the division. Yeah, it's going to be good enough to win the division, but it's not going to be good enough to win the World Series like I had picked them.
But the White Sox are going to do the same thing because we've already seen it. Before the 7-3 stretch, they were 3-7. They're literally doing the opposite of what the Cubs. They're on the two opposite ends of two hot streaks and cold streaks. I mean, I guess that's my only aspect with the White Sox is, heck yeah, they're showing, which is good in the sport. You build a team, you make the right trades, you hold on to certain players, you grow internally through your farm system. When you do them all together, you have a better chance, unless you're the New York Yankees and you just buy everyone. But they're doing good. But they had a cold streak right before it, so I don't know. That's why I'm just not like the Indians have played solid ball the whole season so far, and the Twins have played a subpar ball the whole season, whereas the White Sox went really cold and now are really hot. So I guess that's my only.
They got the same record as the Indians, and they're only 2 games behind the Twins. They're not.
But like I said, the Indians have been consistent to get that. It took the Indians to go through a hot streak and go 7-3 in the last 10 to get to catch the Indians.
Right. But regardless of how the White Sox have done it, they're still tied for the 3rd best record in the American League.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I think that I picked them to win this division. I picked them to be a year early. I like this team. I think that they are a very good, young, solid team. It's good for the White Sox fans in this city, man, because look, the Cubs have been good, and they've been, very good for about the last 5 to 6 seasons. And the White Sox are about to be that team here in this city, and the Cubs are going to have to start not really rebuilding, but they're going to have to start revamping the roster, because they do have these young guys who are about to end their rookie deals, and they're not going to be able to afford all of them. So
Theo's got a lot of work here to do out there in Chicago, and we'll see what you get, because though he still has a place in the heart of many Red Sox fans, we also know Theo took and ran after a Halloween party one year for a little bit of time, and then came back, and then it seemed like when the magic was starting to dwindle, he was ready to head out the door. So there's an aspect with Theo of, it's almost like there are people who get really excited with their personality types when there's something new and they can create something and they can get really excited and they build it and it's great. But then it's like, keep the foundation going or find new ways. It's like he builds a house and it's really good, but then as it starts falling down, he's just kind of like, I don't really want to go. Hey, look, here's another new plot of land that needs a brand new house built. I can go and do that. So is he going to be that guy? Or is he going to go, okay, it's time to make some decisions about how to remodel this house? So we'll see what he does in that aspect. I think you're 100% right. The Chris Bryant, I think Chris Bryant is gone, and then there's a lot of other guys that are in there that are getting ready to head out. So
if you remember our preseason predictions, I actually had Chris Bryant. Even though I had the Cubs win the World Series, I had Chris Bryant as the least valuable player, and he's proven me right so far. The guy's off to a very slow start. He's nearing the next year is the end of his tenure with the Cubs. The end of his contract with the Cubs anyway. And he's struggling in this 60-game season. And then he goes and he gets hurt. He's on the IL. The story about that is that it was weird because he got hurt on a play where he was diving for a ball in the outfield. He was playing left field. Yeah. And, then his next at bat, he's in the on deck circle and he tells Rizzo, he's like, "Hey man, my wrist does not feel right." And then that at bat, he goes and he hits a home run.
Yeah.
and so it was like mind games for him for a couple of days where he couldn't decide whether or not he was hurt or if he was just injured. And the two totally different things. If you're injured and you can't play, and if you're hurt, you can play through it. He thought he was hurt, and it turns out that he's injured and he needs to take a stint on the IL. At this point, I think that with him in the lineup, it's obviously a better lineup. But if he's going to come back, he needs to make sure that he's 100% and that his head's there, because the Cubs, they're good. They're really, really good team, and even without him, they could get by. I think for the 60-game stretch anyway. So. We'll see. We got some other things going on. So the Mets get some news this weekend, and they have to cancel the Subway Series with the Yankees as they find out they have I think it was one player or one coaching staff member who tests positive for COVID. And I know we've talked about this in the past on our show,
I thought you were going to bring up our weekly hero, the dude in the Phillies jersey that was out there by the Met when the Mets were leaving with the broom sweeping the street while he was going by.
But no, the MLB, goes out and they keep chugging through these positive COVID tests, and they keep finding a way. I mean, the longest case being the Cardinals, who were out for 2.5 weeks and not playing games, but they've managed. I mean, they've kept chugging through. I said when all this stuff happened, I was afraid that they wouldn't, but I thought that they could, and they are. They're chugging through it. I think they're gonna make it all the way through. But you got some things that they have to figure out. They have to figure out what to do with the Cardinals. You can't make up 3 weeks worth of games. You just can't. And you said it before. They're going to try to make up 3 weeks worth of games. What happens when they have a doubleheader that gets rained out? What happens when something happens? What happens if they get another positive COVID test?
Well, what happens too when you're the Cardinals or the Marlins or any of these teams that have lost games and you got to do makeup, and then the team that you're playing has positive tests and those games get canceled? Like, what if any teams playing the Cardinals end up canceling? Those are additional games now that aren't even on the Cardinals schedule. So that's why, to me, I'm still, as much as I'm giving Manfred a little bit of credit, and he said, no, we're going to do this and we're going to keep going, good on him. Man, once this weather starts happening, I'm really worried. What is this going to mean for how long the season gets played? Like, are we going to be having playoff baseball in December?
They've got to figure out what they're going to do. As far as I've heard, theories thrown out there that they're going to go with win percentage. And you just can't do that with teams that have played less games. It's not fair.
No, the Cardinals right now are second in the NL in the division with the Cubs because their win percentage is .500.
Right. And that's not okay. Like if I'm a team that plays, 60 games and I go 3 or 4 games over 500, and the Cardinals are, they play, 27 games and they go 4 games above 500. That's not okay with me that they get in because they played less of it. They didn't play the same amount of games we played. That's not okay. So I don't think you can go by win percentage.
It literally gives an aspect of, oh, you had COVID. You had because we talked about with the Cardinals, they didn't just get COVID just because a couple rules they passed. They were out like, screw it, we're going to go to the casinos and everything like that. They got a hardcore because of my point that some of these people are just still children, and the Cardinals at least proved it. So they're going to get rewarded because their win percentage is higher because they didn't play for almost 3 weeks because they were deciding to be irresponsible.
Joshua Seavey, back off, Combs. It's Minnesota time. Give us one, damn it. Look, Josh, you and Michael Buckheister have some of the worst takes I've ever seen in my life. But I will give it to you this time. Look, Minnesota is a very good team. I said it when Soup Boss here picked Atlanta versus Minnesota. I wouldn't even be mad about that World Series, even if I'm a Cubs fan, because that would be the best World Series to me coming out of this season. Those two young teams, man, are just scrappy, and they're young, and they are fun to watch. Minnesota's got a really fun team to watch. Oakland's got a really fun team to watch. And so any of those teams that get in, I'm okay with. Like, I love baseball, so I want to see good baseball. And Minnesota is good baseball. So there you go, Joshua CB. Minnesota is good baseball. The White Sox are just better right now.
You know who else is playing really good are the Angels out in LA.
Why you got to go there?
Because we got to bring up power rankings. We got to see where they are in your top 10.
But they're not in my top 10. Look, man,
I was just trying to find a way to get into the top 10 power rankings. I only put in the picture. I can only fit like 7 in their social media posts. I couldn't put all 10. So who knows? Maybe you snuck them in there between 8th, 9th, and 10th.
This guy. Look, I was wrong. I was wrong about the Angels. I thought they were going to be better than what they were. They started out without Trout, and they haven't been able to find it. They haven't been able to pick it up. Pitching staff has been really bad. The relief pitching has been really bad, for the Angels, and they haven't found it yet. And so, yeah, I mean, Hey, look, I
The
admit,
same Angels thing, year in and
yeah,
year out.
when I'm wrong, I can admit that I'm wrong, and I was wrong about the Angels this year. They're 9-20. They're 11 games out of the division with 30 games to play. So, look, it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. Like I said, hey, at least with a short season. I mean, technically, it's not even over for my garbage ass Sox right now.
No, it's over for the Sox. Sorry, Jared.
That's true. Yeah,
They can get as hot as they
over.
want. It's over for the
fact that they actually can. One of the most exciting things for them is they won 3 in a row, which is technically a win streak, and people were toting about that. I was like, shut the hell up. Like at this point, we want them to lose the games. Like, come on.
Oh man. And then we have let's see here. We got your boy, Mookie Betts. Dude, this guy is unreal what he is doing right now. Yep. He is just lighting the MLB on fire. He is proving that he's worth every dollar that the Los Angeles Dodgers paid him. I saw a stat yesterday. Was it on Sports Soup that posted it?
Yep. I posted it.
Mookie Betts has swung and missed at one ball in the strike zone this year. One single one. 107 pitches he had seen in the strike zone that he has swung at. He has made contact with 106 of them. That is that's insane.
He's amazing. And to go back to when we first brought this up on the concept of his contract size, I've said it, just like I said with, you look back and look at the history of 10-year plus contract players. I think it's going to be the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. The first 4 to 6 years are going to be fantastic. He's going to be worth every penny. And let's say LA turns out and wins 3 World Series. They probably aren't going to be super mad about it come the year 6 or 7. The problem is once you hit year 6, 7, these contracts start to become issues because the players, they don't play the same way as when they first signed the contract. It is just proven history. There's not a player yet that's been able to get to that extent. It's going to happen even with Mahomes. It's going to happen with Mookie. But again, the way he's playing right now and how good the Dodgers are right now, if they go and finally get a World Series after they've gotten so close here the last couple of years, do you think they're going to give 2 craps thinking about what's going to happen in 7 years? Absolutely not. So they go out and get 2-3 World Series over the next 3 to 5 years, all money worth it. 100%.
They absolutely look like the team to beat in the National League, even though, look, the Padres keep coming, and the Padres aren't going away anytime soon. And
keep smashing grand slams.
Slam Diego is what they're calling them right now. That team is lighting it up as well. But the Dodgers if they keep clicking on all cylinders like they are now, neither one of us saw this coming. And we both had the Padres winning the National League West. And the Dodgers look like they're going to win that division. The Padres are absolutely going to get into the playoffs. And they're going to be fun too to watch. Man, can you imagine a first round, freaking the Padres versus the Braves, in a wild card series or something? That would be so fun.
How did you like the fact that after we had the whole debacle with Tatis and this and all of that aspect and the rule of the game and blah, 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 which, by the way, that famous Texas game where they won 33 against the Orioles, they got a grand slam in the 8th inning when it was 16-3. It was on a 2-0 count, not a 3-0 count. I guess that one pitch difference makes the baseball world a lot better. But what's his face hitting the walk-off grand slam 2 days after that and, throwing the bat and screaming and flipping and everything. I love how that excitement is allowed because it's a walk-off.
Right.
But the excitement of Tatis isn't allowed because of that situation.
Anyways,
we beat that to death. I just find it so funny.
Yeah, we've already established that the Texas Rangers are a bunch of bitches and, a bunch of bitch-ass white boys over there. And they are, they're look, you can't complain about a guy swinging 3-0. You can't complain about that. Your starters were still in the game as well. I mean, that was the coach's thing. Oh, well, I took all my starters. The ball that went out, your right fielder was your starting right fielder. That the ball whose head it sailed over. So don't tell me you took your starters out. You didn't take your starters out. You weren't conceding the game, and not even if you were conceding the game, you're not telling your players that you're putting in the game to not try. That's just something
Well,
you don't do.
he said after the game we were a couple of hits away from getting ourselves back in that game.
Yeah, anybody who had a problem with that is absolutely insane.
Well, all of our 50-plus viewers just unsubscribed. Thanks a lot. All of our old fogies just left.
All right. So I have been detailed with the task of coming up with the weekly power rankings for the RTF Sports Network for Major League Baseball. I came out with it, and a certain individual from another show had a problem with it, which we'll get to it after we get to my numbers. And I'll let you know who had a problem with it and why they had a problem with it. But yeah, so I'm going to come out with it every week. Every Tuesday is when it's going to get posted. So you guys are getting kind of a sneak peek here because it's not going to be posted until Tuesday. So that's when you'll be able to see it on the RTF Sports Network in writing. But I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here, and we are going to go with our we are going to go with our power rankings here for me and the Soup Boss here. So you'll know mine ahead of Tuesday. So I'll go first with the 10 through 6, and then we'll have Soup Boss's 10 through 6, and then I'll go 5 through 1, and then Soup Boss can finish off 5 through 1. And so at number 10, I have the Chicago White Sox. Now, I did these on Friday. Had I done these today, I would have had a totally different list. So if you're hearing what I just said, you heard what I just said before. I saw what the White Sox were capable of this weekend, and I really got a good taste for what they can do. So next week, if they continue this course, they're going to be higher on this list. But I had the White Sox at 10. I have the Braves at 9. I think the Braves are a very good team. I think that out of all of the teams that I have on here, I think that they have probably got out of the gate, to not as impressive as the start as I would have expected them to this point. I thought they would be running away with that division, yet every team in that division is still in it. They're all within, I believe, 4 games the last time I looked. And that includes the lowly Mets who have gotten off to another horrible start.
There's 16 and 11. All the rest of the teams are 500 and under.
Yeah, I thought they
600 ball.
Right, but look at the standings, and in the standings you have the Braves are 16 and 11. They're 2.5 games up on the Marlins, who are 11 and 11. They're 3.5 up on the Mets, who are 12 and 14. They are, I believe, they were 4 games up on the Nationals, and then there's only 5 games up on the Phillies, who are 5 and or 9 and 14. You know what I mean? You go to other places where they're not. They're not. I felt like other teams that I have in my top 10 have just gotten off to a hotter start, and right now with their strength of schedule, they look a little bit better than the Braves do. So I have the Braves at 9. I have the Cleveland Indians at 8. The Cleveland Indians have been playing really good ball as well, and they have a really good young core. They have decent pitching, although I don't believe it is to the White Sox standards. When I wrote this list on Friday, I fully expected that the Cubs were going to take 2 out of 3, having Yu Darvish and Kyle Hendricks on the mound. So I didn't think that the White Sox were going to do what they did this weekend at Wrigley. So I have the Indians at 8. I have the Tampa Bay Rays at 7. The Rays are a very good squad. The Yankees didn't get to play this weekend, so they haven't been able to keep pace with the Tampa Bay Rays because that series was canceled due to the Mets COVID testing. But the Yankees are still, to me, they're still the best team in the American League. They've got infinite better pitching than the Rays. They got infinite better lineup than the Rays. So I still have the Yankees higher than the Rays, even though right now the Rays are ahead in that division. But again, the Yankees haven't been able to play all weekend, so they haven't been able to keep pace. At 6, I had the Cubs. The Cubs are what I thought that they were at the beginning of the season. They're an American League team playing in the National League. They're scoring a bunch of runs. Their starting pitching has been outstanding. They need some help in that bullpen. I think they're going to get some by the trade deadline. If I had wrote this list today, they'd be lower on the list. And I'm not even sure that I'd have them in the top 10 right now. So that shows you, where I'm looking at and what I'm looking even as a Cubs fan. They've got some things to do. They need to go out and really prove something. Even though they do have Detroit and Cincinnati this week, it's hard to prove anything against Detroit and Cincinnati. But I have them over
Still
there.
got to win those games. I say
Yeah,
the opposite with the way your mentality is. If those are games you should win it.
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you've got a little bit. I think you've got some inner city depression just kind of soaking in there a little bit on that aspect. I'll tell you that right.
All right, so let's hear your 10-6.
So we're pretty close in a lot of different things, with the exception of one team. 10, I also have the White Sox, but unlike you, I did write this today, and I still put them at 10. I still think they're a great team. They're a great young team. I said to you, I think they still are a year away. I don't think it's inaccurate to say that they'll surprise some people and do really good. I just think they're going through a really hot streak. Now, if they do it again this week and we do this, we look at, I do my list. Yeah, heck, of course they'll be higher. If they do better, they do higher. But the streak they had before that at 3-7, they had some pretty crummy losses in that 3-7. So I just need to see some consistency. But good for them. I mean, top 10 in that aspect. 9, I got the Padres, and as exciting as they are, and as much as we both picked them winning the NL West, and I love it, and I love the Tatis thing. It's another one of those aspects, just like the White Sox. They're hot. They're doing good things right now. They hit 4 grand slams in a row in terms of days, 4 days in a row, 4 grand slams. Never been done. But you can't be consistent on that. So let me see what you can do when you're not hitting grand slams. Can you win these close games in that aspect? I have number 8, who was a team that I think was not a fluke last year, and I think they're proving it, and they continue to do those things where they find ways to just manage the game. And for the life of me, you can't now, but it blows me away that year in and year out they're consistent, but you can go down and get pretty much third baseline tickets for $10 a pop, and that's the Tampa Bay Rays. It's just that dynamic of knowing how to play the game. They know what they're doing, and it's kind of like the Maddox aspect. When he left, the thought process was that they weren't going to be able to keep doing it. It was the opposite. They found a way. They're doing something right in the ownership to ensure that the scouts and the player groupings and everything like that keep them as one of the good teams in that division and in the American League. I have the Indians at 7. To me, the Indians are doing an aspect of the team that we saw go to the World Series against your Cubs, still have some pieces there. They brought in a couple other pieces. They've got the names that they need to, but we've seen them here in the last week bring some young guys up, including that pitcher who went out there. Just the ball was just electric coming out of his hand, the way it danced. And they're showing with some young players as well, like, okay, listen, this isn't just, we didn't just go out and get a bunch of veterans to come in or just get the right coach to be able to take these guys that were kind of not being able to do what they were supposed to do in their careers and do better. They've got a good mix of both. So right now I put them just above the White Sox, but we'll see how this next week go. And at 6, I also have the Cubs. I think you're down on the Cubs because you have inner city depression because the White Sox took 2 out of 3 from them, but you also see them at a higher level. But I think the aspect, though, is they're still built to be an American League team that plays in the National League, and what you've said. And to me, it's just the opposite of the White Sox, but they're built, if they can get themselves back healthy, they're built to be an aspect where they're the team. Now, after this next week, they could be completely flipped. White Sox could be 6th, Cubs could be 10th, but that's the way I'm going to go with that.
Jared says, Jesus Christ, you have the Rays at 8?
I had him at 8, and he had him at 7.
I had him at 7.
But you've got him at Jared 1.
2. Look, I had this argument, and look, I don't think that's an insane take, to be honest with you. If you have them ranked over the Yankees right now, that they are 8-2 versus the Yankees. So I don't really have a huge issue with that. I just think when you look at it, and this is a week by week ranking. So like I said, next week my ranking might be completely different. So we're gonna be doing this every week. I'm looking at the schedule coming up. I'm looking at what's going on. We have a huge series this week with Cleveland versus Minnesota, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's one I'll be paying close attention to. And so that'll really determine, some things for next week's rankings. The White Sox have Pittsburgh and Kansas City this week. So they've got a easy schedule
They gotta
before
win
they
those.
get to play Minnesota next week. And so they, if they go out there and they get those, and Cleveland and Minnesota are beating up on each other, it could be a completely different scenario starting next week.
The thing is, almost all of these top 10 teams for you and I both are pretty close in record. Like, let's be honest, from 1 to 10, you're looking at a 1 to 2 game difference.
Right.
So, anyone thinking one team is crazy at one end or not the other, like next week, this whole list on both of them might be completely flipped.
Absolutely. And Joshua CV, as long as you have the White Sox over the Twins, we know it's wrong. So let's get into my top 5 then. I didn't say I had them over them, when I did this list on Friday. I may have had them over them after I made it. But at 5, I have the Oakland A's. Look, the Oakland A's are so much fun to watch. And they really are the only team in the American League with 20 wins. They are a phenomenal team. They're clicking on all cylinders. They got probably 3 guys you could actually name on their team, and they're just doing things out there in the West that look, we both overlooked them. I don't think either one of us had them in the playoffs in our preseason.
I did too. Get it out of here.
Okay.
I had them in there.
I had them on the outside looking in, and I mean, they're doing special things right now. At number 4, I have the San Diego Padres. Look, the San Diego Padres are these guys show me every game, even in losses, they're showing me that they're competing, and they are right there. And when they're not playing the Los Angeles Dodgers, they're going out and they're doing things that are good things. They're going to stay in that Western Division race the entire 60 games. Will they overtake the Dodgers? That's to be seen. If the Dodgers keep playing the way they are, I'm not sure anybody's going to beat them. But I have the Padres at 4. At number 3, Joshua CV, are you listening? At number 3, I have the Minnesota Twins. Look, the Minnesota Twins are a good ball club. I'm not saying they're a bad ball club. I'm saying that in that Central Division, they are 1, and the White Sox are a 1A. I think the White Sox are just as good as the Twins. I think they're young. I think they're talented. I think they are ready to win now. I think Minnesota, is obviously the team to beat in that division, but I think that the White Sox can't beat them in that division. I just really do. But I have the Minnesota Twins at number 3. I love everything that they're doing. They are young. They are talented. They are fun to watch. They are the type of baseball that I like to watch. So I have them at 3. Now I have the Yankees at 2. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I just think the Yankees have the best roster in baseball, obviously. And they are I think eventually they're going to pull away from the Rays. I don't think the Rays are what they've been so far this point in the season. I think that they've just been the benefit of a really, light schedule. Albeit they have gone out and they have beaten the Yankees when they've played them. I just think other than the Yankees, they've played a pretty soft schedule, and I think they've been beneficiaries of that. So I have the Yankees at 2. And then at number 1, I have the Dodgers. Look, the Dodgers, like I said, if they keep playing the way that they're playing, I don't think anybody's going to beat them. I think they're going to walk through the National League, and I think that they'll end up, finding a way to lose the World Series in 7 games because that's what the Dodgers do. But I just think that I think that the only team that can beat the Dodgers right now is the Dodgers. So I have the Dodgers at 1. So who's your top 5, boss?
Hey, Stevie, don't worry about it. I've already called him out on this. Is that the only reason he's big on the Chicago White Sox is so if the Cubs don't make it in, he can pull the Chicago hat and flip it around and do what Chicago people do.
That will never. First of all, that's not what Chicago people do. Second of all, that would never have. Look, and I've said this, and I explained this to my girlfriend this weekend because she's a White Sox fan. Her family is full of White Sox fans. And, she's like, don't you just hate it when they lose to the White Sox? I was like, no, I hate when they lose to the Cardinals. I don't like at any point when the Cubs lose, but the White Sox are not our rivals. It's a nice inner city rivalry for the fans. They're not our rivals. I don't hate the White Sox, but I will never root for the White Sox. but I can,
It's funny.
when
I'm
you're
pretty
good,
sure
you're
you told
good.
me you hated the White Sox earlier this year.
Oh,
I'm gonna
stop
have to
it.
go through. I'm gonna have to go
I
through the
never
film.
said I
I'm gonna
hate the
have to
White
look.
Sox. I said I don't hate the White Sox. I just love messing with their fans, and I've got the video to prove it. Go on
All right,
YouTube,
all
watch
right.
our
This
shows,
is
you'll find it too.
this is too easy to get you going. Anyways, my 5-1. So I find it funny because my 5 team is the Yankees. I find it funny that you say that somehow the schedule for the Rays is different than the Yankees. The aspect you have the Yankees so hard. The Yankees have been playing the Red Sox almost the whole season so far. Like they're playing the Red Sox and they're playing the Orioles. Like, and then the Rays are beating them out now.
I just made Jared Parrott leave the show. He
Well,
said if the Yankees are 2-1, I'm done with the show.
he says that, but he needs to be back to let us know the next time the Red Sox are on a streak, and don't let them get hot, baby. Don't let them become hot potatoes.
Oh man.
No, I've got the Yankees at 5 because of the fact that I think the 4 teams above them have all played harder schedules. I know you're going to disagree with me on one of them, but I've sat here and I've watched just as much Yankees as with the Red Sox because they played the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are hot freaking flaming garbage, and Toronto is terrible, and Baltimore is bad, and they kind of show some growth, which is good, but they're terrible too. And then they play Tampa Bay, which is funny because I still have the Yankees up higher, but the reason I have the Yankees higher than the Rays is the same reason you said. That staff of players is just a phenomenal group of guys. With that said, I told you before the season started, I don't see them even getting the World Series because they always will have an injury problem. And I was just off. I thought it'd be Stanton, and instead it was Judge who ends up going down. Like, they're just going to always have these issues for some reason. Number 4, you and I are going to disagree on this, but I have the Braves at number 4. I think it's a completely different concept. I'm not at all disappointed with what they've done. I think they've had a target on their back as being the team to beat. And you look at teams like the Marlins, who we were saying was going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates of this league, and they're not. So they're having more challenging games. And so that division, record-wise, they're right. They're 11-11, but we had them as the Pirates. So we were making it out like those were horrible. They were a horrible team. I even remember you saying like it was a horrible division compared to some of the other ones. It's just not the case. Like, no, it's not loaded, stacked with 600 ball club teams, but they're all close to around 500. You have to beat all of them. There's no 4-win team in this division at all, and I think that has to say something about that aspect. The Athletics I have at 3. We've said it. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a random timing. I have sports on, but I'm watching a lot of Athletics games, and they're so fun to watch. They're smart with what they're doing. They're energetic. It just like the Padres are, but unlike with the Padres, they're very smart in terms of what you do, and you see them talking to one another a lot more. And kudos, by the way, to the person that pipes in the sound, because the Athletics sound piper by and far does a better job than anyone else in baseball. It's an amazing job what they do. But no, the Athletics are making the rest of that division and even the teams they play out of division look really bad. And again, it's one of those things. No one, because they're in Oakland, I mean, until they win a World Series, I just don't think anyone will ever talk about them in that aspect. I have the team that's the best in probably or close to the best division in baseball. I have Twins at number 2. I've been high on them, obviously. I have them in the World Series for the American League. They are just a team that you can't name almost anyone on their team. There are people that still probably think Mauer's on their team, for crying out loud. But they've just gel. They know how to play. And if the White Sox are as good as they are and the Indians are as good as they are, you're talking about a team that's beating both of them in that aspect and still staying there. No, not way above the rest of them, but they're still ahead, and they still just continue to play good ball, and they beat the teams they should beat. That's another aspect. Like the Twins in the past, if they did well, they would also struggle against those kind of mid 500 teams. Instead, they're going out and annihilating them. Like, we know we can beat you. Now we got to find some challenging ways to play these other ones. And I love what they're doing. I think it's just another sneaky young team that no one's paying attention. And number 1, I'm right with you. I mean, I didn't put them. I dropped them in my preseason power rankings with you to like fourth. I think it was fourth or third. I actually said they weren't going to make the playoffs. I said they were just going to be a seed out because I predicted just a slow start. I thought Mookie coming in, it's not a big deal. He would be nervous. I thought the whole Kershaw thing was just going to be another debacle that would just weigh them down. And going slow through a month in a 60-game season is far different than a 162-game season. And yet they've done the complete opposite. They're lighting the field on fire. They have Mookie has just turned it on and has proven his MVP money, but it's not just him. Every player on that team is having a night. You can just go through the Rolodex of all their players and be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're just all having these 3 for 5, 4 for 5, amazing games. And that takes so much pressure off the pitching staff that they can go out there and just be relaxed in what they're doing. And when you do that, that's what baseball is, right? Make sure your pitchers are comfortable. Let them go out there and do what they need to do and not stress. And you go out there and hit the ball and don't give up runs in the field. All three of those things, the Dodgers are doing it. So kudos to them for actually being able to do what I feel like they've struggled to do over the last couple of years, which is get going in the early being.
Jared said, "I love how you guys forgot about the Astros. They're on fire. Look, they're
11th. They're 11th on my list.
They're 15 and 13. They're not. Look, and they're playing in empty stadiums where it's easier to hear trash cans banging. Okay, so I don't want to hear about the Astros. Get the Astros out of here. They're 2 games above 500. I mean, come on.
I still put them in my Power 5 power ranking, top 5 preseason, which got Mr. Combs a little agitated because he said, until I know what they can really do, they're 32nd. And I said, no, I still think that the talent's there. Yeah, they're hot right now, Jared. But all the teams we listed, that's the thing. They all are. The White Sox have if you look at the last 10 games, the Athletics, the Twins, the Indians, the White Sox, the Rays are 1 game better, all have the same last 10 record as them. The Padres, the Dodgers are better. Heck, the Giants are only 1 game off of them. So should we, because the Giants are 1 game less than Houston, we should have them in the top 10? Like these top 10 teams are all solid within 2 games of
both of our top 10 lists would beat the Astros in 4 or 5 games in a 7-game series. Point blank. Just tell Jared how it is. His team, his Astros, they suck. That's right, Jared. They're your Astros now. Don't even try it. They're your Astros now. You get them. You want to claim them? Claim them.
I got them at 11, so they're waiting for someone to slip. You may see next week they may be in my top 10, and then I can just get you pissed off. What's new? That's what I like to do.
All right, so there you have it. There's the power rankings. They will be released. My power rankings will be released on Tuesday on the RTF Sports Network. Make sure you guys tune in. We will also be releasing the NHL power rankings, NBA power rankings, and the preseason NFL power rankings. Each of us have some different. So Daniel Sullivan of Infinity Sports is doing the NHL power rankings. And then we have
his number 1 team's losing 2-0 right now, by the way.
Yeah. We got into. So hold on a second. I'll get into that in a second. So finishing what I was saying, Wayne G. He has the NBA power rankings, and Matt Benz of Twist. He has the NFL power rankings. So he's got the preseason coming up. So get into Sully real quick. And now look, this one here. So he chimes in and he was mad, just like Jared is, that I had the Yankees so high and I didn't have the Rays. He's a Tampa Bay guy. He's from Tampa Bay. So does his NHL power rankings make sense to you now? Because look, he's got
that makes sense. It's not that the Lightning aren't a bad pick. I just said that means my team is going to dethrone them, but that makes more sense now.
Right. So he was so mad that I had the Rays so low and the Yankees so high, even though the Rays are 8-2 against the Yankees and blah 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 blah. Look, right now the Yankees have a better roster. I think they have the same easy schedule that they've had all season long, and it's not going to change because they're playing against the AL and the NL East. So they're still going to get to play against the Pirates. They're still going to get to play against the Red Sox. Sorry, boss. Sorry, Jared. But they're still going to get to play against the Red Sox. They're still going to have all those teams. And when it comes down to it, I think that their their roster is better suited heading forward. Now, that being said, if they go out this week and, they have a lame week and the Rays are still as hot as the Rays are, look, I would have no problem putting the Rays over the Yankees. I'm not a Yankee fan by any stretch of the imagination. Sure. I just think right now at this point in time, I think that and when I made the rankings, which was on Friday, they were still ahead of the Rays. So it's not like I was being crazy by saying that the Yankees were better than the Rays right now, because they were still ahead of them at that point. And they might still be ahead of them had they had a chance to play the Mets this weekend, but they didn't. So the Rays got the benefit of that. So
you got to stop worrying about apologizing to me about the Red Sox. Once I knew we didn't have Erod and I saw the first 3 games, I realized that this was going to be a shitstorm of the season. So I just don't want them to keep winning. Like just
so Jared, we're going to let you have a say in the show right now, since you are commenting like a maniac right now. We're going to let you have a say. So we're running up against it right here. We had a segment where we were going to talk some UFC fighting. But we also have our way or no way segment as well. One of those needs to get scrapped because we don't have enough time for both. So, Jared, would you rather see UFC or hear UFC, or would you rather hear our way or no way segment? You pick. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we will go with Jared's pick when we come back.
Put me on the spot. Damn. Come on, Jared. Be good.
Stay with us.
What's going on, Triple Shot Sports family? This is Brandon Combs, host of the best podcast on the planet. That's the Triple Shot Sports Podcast. Be sure to join myself and Soup Boss Chad Lounder live for 2 hours. Yes, I said 2 hours every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central on the RTF Sports Network Facebook page and YouTube. And if you miss any part of the show, you can hear us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on your drive home at 5 p.m. Eastern on rtfsportsnetwork.com.
No rap god or rap devil, I'm the rap Jesus. Rap needs this, who's Mises? That's me shit. Hell no, I don't fuck with this. So rap god or rap devil, I'm the rap Jesus. Rap needs this, who's Mises? That's me shit. Hell no. Love used to be a dream to me. Now I'm the source of these rappers like this, and I'm layers ahead of you. And if you think that I'm playing, you playing yourself like a video game. And your name on the jersey, the state of emergency. Currently, I am in need of some currency. Don't say a word to me, or you'll end up in a verse with me. That look like a fucking murder scene. Losing my patience, please don't approach me. Give me my paycheck, know that you owe me. That go for anybody, anywhere, anytime of the day. But just give me this money, cause this is a stick up. I pick up, won't feel like a pitbull. And pick you apart when you bring it your pimples. This shit is so simple. I rip with a sickle, then rip you and split you in bits upon the tissue. Battle, you love with that. I will fuck you up so fucking bad, that you ask me like, fuck with that. You better watch your fucking back. Who, you if you fucking rap. I go off with Jackson already passed on your time to get fucking loud. My time is valuable, don't fuck with that. Hannibal, fuck is that. Hannibal, fuck is that. I have your whole family in love with that.
All right, so we are back, and Jared has spoken. He says, let's hear some UFC. Way or no way will still be there on Tuesday. All right, so Soup Boss, here we go. Oh, sorry, your mic was muted there. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So we got some.
Did you still keep maybe? Like to let him know he wanted to do some UFC, but just to piss him off, we had a way or no way with the Red Sox being part. So sorry, Jared.
Yeah, hey, we did have a way or no way with the Red Sox, but we'll save that for Tuesday. Let's get to some UFC talk. Look, UFC had some very fun things happen last night in their fight night, which you did not see, as we were talking about before the show. You said that you had some other things. You did not know it was on TV. So I actually watched something like you did. You treated the UFC like I treat the NBA. You just weren't watching last night.
No. Don't even get in that crap. No, because I don't decide I don't want it. You know, when Julia's going to be on in 2 weeks, I just thought it was pay-per-view, and I didn't want to pay for it. So I just went and watched stuff. You don't watch anything NBA and recap later.
So Julia's fighting next week?
Julia's fighting on the 5th, September 5th.
All
So
right, I'm gonna have to get that one and take a look. Tampa Bay just had a goal wiped out, by the way. Boston is still up 2-0. They said it was hit with a high stick, so that's it was a good call too, though.
Yeah.
So, very good call. So, all right, so let's get into UFC last night. Frankie Edgar comes back. A lot of people were talking. He's too old. He's too small. He's been out of the game. Now he's dropping a weight class after being gone for. And then he came out, man, and Frankie Edgar put on a show. Did you at least see the highlights? I mean,
yeah, no, like I said, I actually went in and I watched not only highlights, but I went back and watched a couple of the fights from everything last night. So
good.
I just thought it was a pay-per-view. So I was like, oh crap! Like I would have definitely watched it last night. So I watched a good chunk of it. I have to say, like, I think there's an aspect of the fact that, what is he, 39 years old? And I found out a stat that he's the only UFC fighter ever to have more than 7 hours of octagon time. Like, no one's ever had more time than him. I don't think he won that fight, man. I don't agree. I think that Munoz actually had, I think it's just the element of what we know with Frank. It was a hell of an effort. It was very close.
Punches?
Munoz landed more
takedowns.
No, Munoz definitely landed more punches. On almost everyone's card, he landed more punches. I think it was just the aspect of this is who we are as sports fans, right? We love the underdog card. And here comes this guy that's 39 years old that you said people were saying, should he even be fighting? It's too long. He's too long tooth in the game. Like, call it quits. And then he comes out and just puts up this effort, which is just phenomenal. Trust me, as a 39-year-old dude, I was pumped to know that we could still go out there and do stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think he actually if we just call it straight without that energy, I think the decision should have been the other way. That's just my opinion. I still think it was a close match, and I think it was a hell of a match, and good for him for going out there at 39 when everyone said he should be done, and he fought and did a great job.
And the fact that he hung in there for 5 rounds, I mean, the guy, and they were swinging, man, for 5 rounds. These guys were throwing blows for 5 rounds, and for him to go in there in 25 minutes of fighting, for those of you who just, I hear all the time, I could go fight. Man, you couldn't go 2.5 minutes.
You couldn't last a round.
There's no way, man. There's not the amount of physical exertion that comes through 5 minutes. Hell, dude, like I wrestle around with my 16-year-old and my 14-year-old son, and after about 3 minutes of that, I'm laying on the ground and I don't want to move for 20 minutes.
Yep.
So I can only imagine going toe to toe with another freaking grown ass man who's trying to knock my face off. That going 25 minutes with that, there's just no way. So for Frankie Edgar to go out there and put on the show that he put on, man, kudos to him. He blew me away last night. I thought he was gonna get knocked out last night. I really did. I thought Munoz was a better fighter. I thought Munoz was gonna take him down. That's Munoz, what, 2nd or 3rd straight loss?
He's got to go straight loss. Yeah,
he's got to go do some regrouping.
He's got to find a way if he wants to be able to do the opposite of people were talking about with Edgar, is that he needs to go out there. He needs to regroup. And I think that's why when he went to the podium after, instead of him just being like, they got it wrong and just being upset, he just was very calm and collected, saying, hey, I think the rulings were off. I think I actually beat him in that match. But he was very calm and collected because, like you said, this is 3rd straight loss. Like, you can't go out. It's not like this was a super upset. He was 20-0 and in that aspect. But to go back to your point, when people say that, I used to do Kosho Rukempo. I did it for quite a few years, and even doing it for quite a few years, being conditioned and everything like that. We would always have to get into a match, a sparring match with someone a belt above us during different times, and like 45 to 48 seconds into these things, and I was conditioned. I would start to have like trying to find ways to control my breathing, try to find ways to not slip in a certain way. I'd be covered in sweat. Like, people don't understand. And the fact that I got to the 4th round highlights in this match and I watched them just throwing haymakers, I was like, holy crap, how were they doing this? So I think, they really were. And I think that's part of it. I think, I even think judges in anyone, even in Olympic games, I don't care how stoic and flat they're supposed to be and centered. I think everyone, we see it with like umps and refs in sports, right? Like baseball umpire at the plate, they see that nasty pitch for third strike, and they're like, no, they get nuts. Like, I think they get emotionally in it. I think that was a big part of it. We saw a guy that people were like, why are you fighting? Just put up a hell of a fight. And I think the judges were a little emotional in it. That's all I'm going to say. I think.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. But there's and I watched the UFC, the training show that they have there. I can't remember the name of the Ultimate Fighter. Dana White's big thing there is don't let it get to the judges. Don't let it get there because you never know what they're going to choose. You never know what they're gonna say, and you never know what they're thinking. And so you let it get to the judges, and they went with Frankie. So kudos to Frankie. He outstanding job last night. Even though he dropped a weight class, maybe I don't know. Does he got another 2, 3, 4 fights in him? Maybe. Has he got a championship run in him? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think right now he's just doing everything to keep his name relevant, and he did that last night. So good for him.
Another one, that really, really, this fight was fun to watch. Shayna Dobson absolutely shocks the world last night with her, upset over Agapova. And Shayna Dobson is a hell of a mixed martial artist. That girl, oh man, that was probably the match of the night for me. That match was unbelievable. It was fun beginning to end. And
it's by far the upset of the night, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Dobson was just unreal. Yep. Like I've heard people talk about how she's probably their favorite fighter since Ronda Rousey because they've been looking for a female star to latch onto or whatever the case is. But what do you think's next for Dobson? Is she going after some of the big names here? Is she gonna after and start doing some things, or was this just a one trick wonder? She had a great night. Let's let her live in that night.
I think we need to let her live in it. I don't think it means she's a one trick wonder, but you got to remember she walked into this match 3-4 and hadn't won a match since December of 2017. So like when you're saying some people liked her because they liked her style, they were looking for another female fighter. I'm sorry, we've talked about some other female fighters when we've done UFC before that don't even get talked about. And then this girl was out here and hasn't won in almost 3 years. Like, and so
was 9-2.
Yeah, she was 9-1 going into that. So that was huge. That by and far was a huge upset, without a shadow of a doubt, and good for Dobson. And I think Agapova, all fighters do it, like they talk, right, and you do all the thing. I think that the way she talked down on Dobson gave Dobson fuel, and I think that was the difference, is that she didn't talk down to her be like, I know where I'm at. I'm going to come in here, and my goal is going to be annihilate her. She talked down on Dobson, like I can't believe I'm fighting her. Because she's 3, like, look at her record. Look why am I fighting her? And you do that to anyone that has a competitor. If you're fighting in the UFC, if you're 3-4, you're not in the big leagues of the UFC at 3-4 because you suck. It means that you have a hard time once you get to the top talent, but you're in that ring, that octagon, because you're decent. She gave a competitor the upper edge with that. But with Dobson, listen, you got to go out and do this a couple more times. You have not won in almost 3 calendar years. Let her get another win or 2 under her belt. If she goes out and does what she does, like a first round knockout like that again, I mean, she just had her laid on her side, just thunder fist. Yeah. I mean, sure, we'll talk then, but no, not yet.
So for me, the knockout, I'm not sure who got knockout of the night, but for me, the knockout of the night was definitely Daniel Rodriguez. So I don't know, did you watch that fight at all, Soup Boss, where he's fighting Dwight Grant? All right, so he's fighting Dwight Grant. He gets knocked down early in the first round. And, at that point, to me, I thought it was about to get ended. And he gets back to his feet, and they go at it. And he comes back and knocks out Dwight Grant. And, dude, it was beautiful. That was a pretty knockout.
Well, did you hear the post-game comments?
No.
Rodriguez actually said he thought he was done because he says he felt like he did black out a little bit from Grant. But what he remembers hearing was the ref saying, get going, keep going. Pretty much him saying, if you don't show me something, I'm going to call it. And something triggered in his brain to just kind of get back and fight. He somehow came out of it. So according to him, Grant did knock him out, but he found a way to fight through it. And that's the difference. When he came in with that straight left, and Grant went down on the cage. He had his face exposed. I give the ref credit because we've had a couple here in the last couple of years, but we've had some controversies with some refs, some people kind of playing chicken a little bit and they calling it because they're wavering in there or too quickly on a takedown. He gave him a chance, and then he gave Grant a chance. Grant got loaded and was down and was like this, and he was looking at him, and he didn't call it right there. He said you could hear him saying, so I think he was doing the same thing. Do something. And the difference is Rodriguez probably knew, I got to make sure he doesn't do something or we're going to just be right in the bag, same spot. And then he just, with the rights, just came in and took him out. So fantastic win for him because that was a quick turnaround to go from the match was over one way to going to the other way. So, yeah, that was really good.
The other knockout, which was another pretty knockout, was the other Rodriguez there. The two Rodriguezes last night got knockouts. But Michael Rodriguez, is that his name? I can't remember his first name. But he got another knockout, man, and he looked impressive last night as well. He looks like he is going to be a guy who is going to rise in those rankings. He's going to rise pretty quickly. He was very impressive last night.
Well, that makes him 11-4. So that was a big thing, and it is Mike, by the way. It's Mike. I'm sorry, I was getting to his record. So 11-4. I think the problem is that that was his first UFC win. So again, it becomes a thing. But he defeated a guy who's 13-5, but again was 0-2 and is now 0-3 in UFC. So it's that aspect of the records are there, but it's kind of the same thing with Dobson. Now you got to string one or two together. So great knockout by him, great record per se, but he kind of came in slow to start. But we've seen that with a lot of other great fighters, right? They do really well outside the UFC. They come in, they lose 2 out of 3, they kind of start slow. And that could be his statement fight right there. That could be where he takes that and knows he beat someone at least on an equal caliber of being a great fighter. He gets that first lick of the UFC win total, and now he can build on it. And we could be sitting here 2 years from now talking about how Mike Rodriguez is dominating because he looked good. He looked at his feet. He knew where they needed to be. He was turning his hips just the right way. That was the most, to me, that was the most chess match type of fight in which he was reading what's his face, like he was 2 steps ahead of him, and he was very calculated.
He was super impressive. I mean, he really was. And so I think that he's gonna be a guy who can rise through the rankings. So we'll keep our eye out for that. So for all of you who are out there listening, it is time for our Shop Talk segment. So let's get to a little bit of Shop Talk. Anything you guys want to talk about, we will talk about, we will listen to, and we will answer any questions you may have about anything.
Anything.
I'm surprised people haven't really taken advantage of that.
I know.
Really test the waters. We haven't had anybody come in and be like, so.
I mean, they're in here because they love sports like you and I do. But literally, guys, we're telling you anything you want to talk about as long as it, doesn't cross the threshold of my children watching this, and I kind of explain something to them after.
I don't have any threshold, man. I'll talk.
You don't have any?
I'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. You throw anything at me. We'll go. Let's take a look at some of the comments that we had here. That's fine. They have Kate Upton. Upton. So speaking of females, so we didn't touch on this, but Mike Milbury gets suspended by NBC for saying that there were not as many women in the bubble to distract the NHL players.
Correct.
Now, I don't understand why he's in trouble because he's not saying anything that's wrong. He's saying something that's been in our society for thousands of years. Men chase women. That's what we do. That's guys like women, especially single millionaire athlete guys. They like women. So in the bubble, they don't have as many women to chase around, and they're probably a little bit more focused on their sport than they would be during a normal regular season.
Well, I think if you look at his comments with it too, it was the aspect of he was talking about how all the guys are together in a bubble, they're focused on the sport and they're not caught up with distractions. So even when he said they're not distracted by women, I don't even think he even meant it in a derogatory way. What you're saying in chasing women, I think at homes, their wives, like, let's be honest, I come home and it's a good distraction to have when I get around my kids and stuff like that. But they're literally talking about these guys are getting in and they're forced to stay focused and they're forced to gel as a team because they can't leave and go home. I think that was his whole point. That's why I wish he had elaborated it more on it, because it came right after the Tom thing and then it came him. And people are trying to put those two together, and to me, they're not. It's not even close to the same.
No, man, it's not. First of all, he did not say anything that was like
derogatory.
He didn't say anything derogatory. He didn't say he wasn't talking about anything derogatory. He wasn't saying anything bad about women. He was just saying there's not as many in the bubble, so the guys are a little bit more concentrated. Yep. That's not a bad statement. That's not something that he should have been suspended for.
Nope.
And
I agree.
I think it's just a sign, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier with the whole Montez thing. It's just a sign of the times that we live in. Everybody's looking for a reason to complain about something. And it was actually a woman who outed him on Twitter and who said, "Oh, it's not 2020, it's 2020, not 1920, and yet here we are." And come on, man.
Yeah, it was an observant comment, and it's an aspect where, like you just said, it was nothing derogatory in any way, shape, or form, and it just stinks because, like what I said with Tom, you got to watch yourself because this microphone is on all the time, and you're at work, you're being recorded. But here's a comment to me. That was just an observatory comment. He wasn't making it in derogatory term. He could have made it about, any aspect in which they don't have in the bubble. I think he was literally just him making an observatory comment about why they're gelled. There's no distractions. That's it. It's a poor reaction.
Here we go with some shop talk. If you were to come to me in my shop for a new kitchen, what type of wood would you go with, and why? And would you go paint? All right. So look. So you're coming in, and you're asking this to a guy who's a carpenter. I'm a carpenter. That's what I do. It's my trade. So for me, if I like kitchens, I'm going stain. Anything that I'm doing with wood, I'm staining. You don't paint wood. That's the whole point of a wood's beauty, is to bring it out. So you go with a stain. For me, I like dark and I like cherry. I like a cherry cabinet set. That's the type of kitchen that I'm going with. I like a dark red cherry wood. Jared, don't ever paint wood. Don't ever let anybody talk you into wood. Don't ever do it. Just stain it. Stain it. And if you don't know how, or you don't, have anybody that can do it for you, man. So look, I know guys up there in the New England area always looking for work that'll get to you on the cheap. So let me know if you need some help. But you seem like a pretty handy guy. So I'm thinking you just came at me with a general trying to talk crap statement because we said we would talk about anything. But there's my answer. What about you, Soup?
No, I'm right with you. I was literally in my head. I'm not a carpenter like you, but I've lived in a lot of different houses and I've seen it. And for me, there's nothing more beautiful than that dark cherry wood aspect. But the same way, I think if you had asked me 20 years ago when I was first coming into adulthood and everything, there's the aspect of why natural wood was so much better and everything. And it is. And it's kind of like when you first get the car off the lot. But if you don't clean it and everything like that and keep it, but then you have to wax it to keep that shine and that beauty, or it goes away. Natural wood, it gets beat up and it starts to look ragged. Got to stain it. You got to stain the wood, and it keeps it. It's like putting a wax cover on a car. It keeps it looking so much nicer for so much longer.
If you're gonna paint wood, you might as well just went and got that crap from IKEA. More days to put together than it.
Hey needed. Man, I like IKEA. Come on now.
He said, "I agree. We just did White Sox owner Tom Werner's house. Oh, look at him name dropping. We just did Sox owner Tom Werner's house. An all painted kitchen with high gloss. Really pissed us off. Yeah, look. I say it all the time, and I say it about sports owners. This is the one thing that I've always said. Some people like the statement, some people don't. But just because you have the money to own it doesn't mean you have the brains to run it.
That's good. That's good.
There are a lot of guys with a lot of money to do a lot of stupid shit. I mean, there just are. I mean, you look at guys, there are some horrible sports owners, but they're rich, so they get a sports team. yeah, that would piss me off too. Look, I've had it a couple times where I've said, if you're gonna paint this, then I'm not gonna do the job. You can find somebody else to do it because I'm not putting my name on something like that. I mean, I've turned down work, because if I'm gonna put my name on something, I want it to look, look good. I mean, it's got to look decent. I got to be able to do a good job on it. And then, it comes time to doing work on my own house. And people are like, wow, that's the work. No, that's not the work I do. That's the work I do on my own house. Because when I'm at home, I don't want to do the goddamn work.
Yeah.
So don't ever judge my work by the work I do at home. Of course, my girlfriend's listening to this right now as I'm building a deck in our backyard. And she's like, oh, now it makes sense.
Now it's going to look like garbage. That's what it looks like, garbage. The owner there of the Raiders, speaking of people who are rich but don't know how to do with their money, have you ever heard the stories about him and what he does? Now they're in Vegas. I don't know if it's the same, but that goofy bowl cut haircut that he gets, he drives round trip 4 hours to get that done. He starts his morning every day at a P.F. Chang's and sits at the bar and has an iced tea while he reads newspaper, and he still has one of those chocolate Nokia candy bars phones, and drives in like a late 90s a van with the VHS setup in there for people who play VHS.
A barber actually cuts his hair like that, and they put
he drives 4 hours round trip for a barber to cut his hair like that.
Here's a question for you, and Jared, I want you to answer this question too. If you were a barber and that was the work that you did, would you put your name on it, or would you be pissed off that he's like, yeah, this is where I go to get my hair cut?
Well, now
I'd be mad.
He never released who it is. Just people close to him said it's the same guy he found him when he was in college and he liked the work he did. And so he's kept this barber and he drives 4 hours round trip to get it done. So I don't think I wonder if the guy's just like, listen, this guy's probably paying me a lot of money because it's the Raiders owner. I wonder if he's like, hey, I'm trying not to make my life all glitz and glamour. Could you kind of keep my name out of the conversation here?
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah, that's terrible. He's just sticking one of those white Tupperware bowls on his head and just whoa.
All right, hey, Soup Boss, we're running out of time. Why don't you tell these guys where they can find us?
Yeah, so you got, like we said, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 3Shot Sports. Definitely find us there. The 3 is the number. Twitter polls will go up. We'd love you guys to vote on those on Instagram. Comment and share on that as we continue to grow that. Of course, here on Facebook, on Triple Shot Sports page and the RTF network page, you can find us on there. We'll interact with you guys on the Facebook page on our own. And then, of course, these videos there. But the YouTube page, we're trying to build that up. We'd love to be able to get more subscribers on there. So on YouTube, Triple Shot Sports Podcast. So not a 3 or something like that. The words Triple Shot Sports Podcast. I've worked with YouTube to get us up towards the top. So when you see that, get in there, hit subscribe, like, share it. When we hit 100 subscribers, Mr. Combs has been more than gracious to say that he's going to do a big giveaway. I thought we were going to do one thing. This man's like, I'm going to give away 5 things. Signed memorabilia, guys. So get on there and subscribe at Triple Shot Sports Podcast on YouTube, and then share it, because the faster we get to 100, the quicker of a chance you get to get something cool mailed to you.
And look, my girlfriend, I'm a sports memorabilia collector, and I'm running out of room to keep stuff. So she's going to be really excited that I'm giving away 5 things. And we love you guys. Thank you for clicking, sharing us tonight. I see we got a ton of likes and hearts on our post today already on Facebook. So keep that stuff coming. We love you guys. Tuesday is going to be a great show. We are going to have Matt Benz. He's going to come on and he's going to talk about his NFL preseason power rankings. Once they get released on Tuesday, you guys can go and see them. I've already seen them, and I have some questions. So I asked him to come on the show on Tuesday. We are going to have an in-depth conversation with him and about his power rankings. We want you guys to join the show, interact with us. I know Jared Parrott's going to give this guy some hell. So it'll be a good time. We're going to have Matt Benz from Twist. They put on a great show. If you guys haven't checked out Twist, they do a great show. They had a phenomenal interview this past week with a guy from the Minnesota Timberwolves organization, and they just did an excellent job over there. So definitely check out these other shows on the RTF Sports Network, Twist being one of them. Strikeout Beer, they join us most of the time. Infinity Sports, all these guys. Let's give these guys some love. And as always, we will see you on Tuesday with host. Well, with guest, with host, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. See you later.
with guest Matt Benz. So good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Go
see
Cardinals.
you later. Ugh.
Go Cardinals. Got it in. Go Green.
What's going on, Triple Shot Sports family? This is Brandon Combs, host of the best podcast on the planet. That's the Triple Shot Sports Podcast. Be sure to join myself and Soup Boss Chad Lounder live for 2 hours. Yes, I said 2 hours every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central on the RTF Sports Network Facebook page and YouTube. And if you miss any part of the show, you can hear us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the drive home at 5 p.m. Eastern on rtfsportsnetwork.com.